Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Mr. Reality, joined by psychic medium Liz Cross. Thought I'd do something a little different today, Liz. I got a bunch of questions, kind of be rapid fire. We're gonna shoot some questions from the hip and see what we get. What are the Akashic records, and how can people dig into them?
Oh gosh. Okay. Who are we channeling for this one?
Simple. We'll start simple first.
Who should we channel? Source?
Sure.
Okay. What are the Akashic records? It's the Hall of Records. And what do you mean by the Hall of Records? It's where all memories of every lifetime are stored. And how can we access them? You have to go deep into your memory bank through the layers. You have to go deep in to access through what past life regression techniques? Yes, mostly.
Just
Uh,
human or any life?
just human lifetime. Yes. Oh, do animals have the ability to access their Akashic records? No, no, they do not. That was a good question.
Oh. Um, so how does the Akashic records record information like karma points and soul ascension level steps?
The Akashic records score like points or keep karma points, or how do they file it? It's filed in the DNA.
And is your DNA have memory from your past incarnations?
Does your DNA have memories from your past? Oh, everything is held in the DNA. Everything is stored in that DNA. So are you saying that because some people can access the Akashic records through like a meditative walk, right? They do a meditation, and
Yeah.
then the person who's leading the meditation walks them up to the Hall of Records and they access their book. So when we are doing that, are we actually going into our DNA? No.
What are we going into?
Yeah. What are we going into? It's like an etheric hall of records. So the actual place exists. Yes, it does.
And is it for all humans, or does each sort of nationality have their own Akashic records? It's like a big library for all humans, all time.
For all humans all the time. Yes. And do other cultures or nationalities have a different symbol for it? They do. They do, but it's relatively the same thing. I feel like Buddhists have something unique to them, is what I'm getting. I don't know much about the Buddhist religion, though.
All right, we could go deeper in that, but let's talk about reincarnation since it came up. When you reincarnate, how is that information written into the Akashic records, or how is it written into your soul? And is there a third redundancy system?
Oh, Lord. Okay, one at a time. When you reincarnate, how is that information written into the Akashic records? The book is so your personal book or anybody's personal book is constantly being written as we are living life, at the moment. So even as we're doing this channeling of you, source, is that being written in the Akashic records for myself and Mr. Reality? Yes. And so the memory bank or the writing or the record keeping. So who is doing that? Who is physically
Who's
right?
writing the
We
book?
are.
Right.
Yeah, he just said we are. What do you mean we are? How are we doing that? Are our souls like literally pen to paper and writing? No, but we're transmitting information every second of the day. We are transmitting information into our Akashic book, into our Akashic record. It's automatically copied. So are you saying that a carbon copy of our Akashic record, like a carbon copy of our life, our lives as we live them, a carbon copy is automatically copied into the book? Yes.
Can you edit or like rewrite the book? Or can someone steal your pages?
Can someone steal your pages? No, they're coded. They're specifically encoded. They cannot be changed or manipulated or, hacked into by anyone else other than your own soul.
Well, one of the people that we channeled said they looked at my Akashic Records book. Did they get permission from my higher mind, or can anyone access anyone's Akashic Records with permission?
Can we access anyone's Akashic records with permission? You don't need permission to access the Akashic record if you just want to take a look. But if you're talking about manipulating, distorting, changing, or manufacturing something or hacking into it, now you don't have permission to do that. But we all have permission to look at each other's Akashic records.
Is it just like now, or does it have a future lifetime written in the Akashic Records?
Ah, now, isn't that an interesting question? Do we have our future written into the Akashic records? Sometimes. Now, I have to tell you, some of you will have heard me talk about this before. I was in London a few years ago and with my family, and I went to the spiritualist church that I always go to in London, and we do a group meditation and we practice channeling it. That is a great group of people, right? Owen is a part of that. For those of you that know who Owen is. And we did a Akashic record meditation, and at the end of the meditation, the teacher goes around and she'll say, "Okay, what did you get? What did you get? What did you get?" And she came to me. She said, "Liz, what did you get?" I said, "Oh my gosh, I was I was walking and it was really dark, and I looked to the right and I saw this graveyard and it was overgrown and it was really creepy, and I don't know what to make of that." She goes, "Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, just hold that in your memory bank." Well, a week later, we fly to Israel, right? Because Israel's just a short hop, skip, and a jump from London. Most places are. And we went to Israel and we got lost walking home from the market in Jerusalem. And if you've ever been to Israel, there's wild cats everywhere, right? Cats are thought of as like vermin over there. Wild cats everywhere. And we heard these cats fighting and it was dark. And I was like, oh my God, my son grabbed my hand and he was like, "Mommy, I'm scared." And I'm like, "Yeah, I feel a little creeped out too." And I looked to the right. I said to my husband, I was like, "Where are we?" And I looked to the right, and there was the graveyard that was overgrown and dark and creepy. And it just gave me a reassurance. I was like, "Oh, I'm thinking to myself, that's the graveyard that I saw in my Akashic records." And then of course, we found our way like 30 seconds after that. But anyway, so yes, you can see future events. So I preface that. Now I'm going to ask a question. So, why was I able to see that future event in my Akashic record? Why was that significant? Why did I need to be shown that? It was just confirmation that what we were accessing at the time, accessing that Akashic records, that it could be done. So, did you, Spirit, want to give me that confirmation to just solidify that this could be done? Exactly. Wow. Okay.
Cool. Are there any types of stones or crystals that help you be able to see your past lives better?
Are there any types of stones or crystals that will help you see your past life better? Amethyst.
Any others?
Any others? Quartz.
Is there a specific type of quartz?
Is there a specific type of quartz? No, most quartz just magnifies your attempts to tap into that information.
Does the Akashic Records contain planning for our lives down on the Earth plane, or is it only Earth plane experiences recorded there?
Is it planning for our future lifetimes? Is that held in the Akashic records? Yes. The planning is so. Is that a different book to the one that we actually live? No, that's not a different book to the one that we actually live. It's all the same book. But then if our plans are held there, and then at the time that we are living, we're giving carbon copies over into the Akashic records, would that mean that that information was already there? So it's not really sealed in stone, set in stone, until you've actually lived it.
Is there a part of me now that knows how to and is always transcribing everything that I do? And is that a separate, non-incarnated part of my soul?
Is there a part of you now that is always transcribing? Yes, it's a part of the soul. Does it have a name? Does it have, like, is it specifically dedicated to transcribe? Yes, it is. And would we say that we are that area, can we call it, for lack of a better term, like terminology, transcriptionist? I mean, you could say that your transcriber self. So if we were to tell our transcriber self, this is what we want to manifest, would that transcriber self or part of us be able to now put that manifestation in the Akashic records, and then it turns out that it happens? No, because it really is literally only a carbon copy of what we do in the
Okay.
here and now. It's not, do they write down for the future? No. The future thing, like the planning and what's going to happen to us in the future, that is taken from the soul and that is put into the Akashic records. But I'm saying, but okay, it's taken from the soul. Is that at the point of before or after programming the lifetime? It's after. So after we program the lifetime, for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm sorry, you'll have to go back over the old videos where we talk about the programmer. Okay, so it's after the programming of the lifetime, then it's recorded in the book. And do we bring the book down here with us to the earth plane? No, that's embedded in the DNA.
That actually brings up my next question. You're always doing that. When I have a question, you bring it up before. In one of our previous CTT sessions, we're trying to petition the programmer or the author of our book to give us, you know, struggles, but aren't struggles that aren't going to kill us. And so is the programmer the same as that part of us that's writing in our Akashic Records book, or is that a different agency altogether?
Is it the programmer? So the programmer doesn't really write our the programmer isn't the one who writes our story. The programmer is the one that basically programs the story in. We write our story. We go to the programmer with our list, and the programmer basically then mathematically, in a physics based or probably even higher than that our consciousness could ever understand, then calculates and puts the events, all the contracts into the timeline. Okay, that's the short version. And so the question is,
Is the programmer a different agency, or is the programmer us and a
is the
different aspect of our soul programming our own reality?
is the programmer are a different agency? No, the programmer is us. Um, so the programmer is us. Yes. No. Is the programmer us? No. We are we are designing our lifetimes on a soul level, okay?
All right.
We then take that information to the programmer after it's been approved. So, you've got your approvers up there. And then you also have this thing that people like to channel, which is the Council of Light. Okay. I got hit with this over the weekend. Somebody had been contacting their Council of Light, or channeling the Council of Light. When I see my personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions, when I look at the Council of Light, it's nothing more than a long boardroom with a bunch of, souls that are at mastery level, right? That are sort of making decisions and making sure that Source's plan is carried through, that we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? So I'm sorry. The rest of that question is.
Well, that Council of Light, are they truly light or are they dark entities trying to distract us? Whenever something
Ooh,
says Council of Light, I'm always curious.
uh, the Council of Light. Are you dark entities? No. No. Are you light beings? Yes, they're in the spirit world. They're light beings.
So, in our daily meditations, what can we do, or does it not even matter what we can do to repetition the programmer to better our lives now? Is his work done and that's like a moot avenue to pursue?
If the programmer has finished, is your work done? Yeah, basically that work is completed. Now I do know how to change things on the timeline, right? But it's very lengthy and it takes a lot of work. There are ways and means to do it. And then you start, yeah, the programmer, are you actively doing it then? No. So basically, no, that's it. So once the programmer has put the timeline in for you, now you're ready to come to the earth plane. But there is a way to and visualize that timeline and make some changes to it. But it's a very lengthy process.
Okay. There are people talk about parallel realities and dimension jumping. Uh, what is that about? Is that a real thing or is that just a distraction from pursuing your own ascension path?
These is there such a thing as parallel realities? I mean, gravity and being here on the earth plane, right, means we are in one reality for us in the here and now. Now, when you are in the spirit world, what I am getting is you do not have gravity. There's an absence of gravity. You don't need gravity. You're not in a body. So, what do you need gravity for? That is when you have access to all the information. But I'm going to say for this lifetime, as me, Liz Cross, is there another version of me, Liz Cross, out there living a different life and time other than the one that is living this one now? No.
Okay, that's a big question from people. The next one is the simulation. We talk about living in a virtual experience where we're just a body playing a game and then we're done and we do it again. How much of that simulation can be overwritten right now while we're in it?
How much of that simulation can be overridden right now while we're in it? The only way you can override the simulation is to expand your consciousness, right? That is the only way. Is that the only way? Yes. I mean, really, it's about it's consciousness expansion. But then when you expand your consciousness, not fully, because I don't know if we ever expand our consciousness fully, but what I'm getting from source is when you extend it or expand it to a great extent, then you have complete and utter gratitude for the entire system or simulation.
How do we work on expanding our consciousness? What are the top two ways from Source that we can do that now?
How do we work on expanding our consciousness? Processing. Processing in what? Ayahuasca? No. Hypnotherapy is one. Processing. You've got to process. Whether you are consciously awake and processing the energy or whether you are in a hypnotic or semi-hypnotic state and you are accessing energetic information and you are processing it from dark to light.
I guess the question for Source, and this is an average question, but what percentage of our trauma is in this now lifetime versus all of our other lifetimes?
What percentage of this now trauma? Oh, the here and now trauma is very, very small. It's like 1%.
And that's what we focus on. That's what we forget to really marry the idea of consciousness expansion through looking back further and expanding our forgiveness circle, which brings me to our spirit guides. The spirit guides we talk about a lot when we're doing the CTT group, but our spirit guides that are with us, are they us or are they higher beings or are they people we've incarnated with? Like we talk a lot about soul groups. So is the spirit guides different than a soul group?
The spirit guide's different than the soul group. Yes, they are. So soul group or soul family are the ones that you come to the earth plane with. Sometimes they choose to set a lifetime out. Fair enough. Maybe it wasn't beneficial for them to join us in the lifetime, but for the most part, we spend every lifetime with these significant souls. Okay? That's not the same as a soulmate. I'm not talking about a soulmate. I'm talking about your parents who raised you, your your siblings, though that's the soul family. The soulmate concept, we have lots of soulmates, but the soulmate concept, if you want to say, if you want to narrow it down to be a significant other, then are they part of the soul family? Not always, not always. Sometimes they can be part of the soul family, not always. Sometimes they have their own soul families. So the spirit guides are a whole different team of people. Now, let's ask, do the spirit guides have they had past lives with us? A lot of them have. A lot of them have, but they are souls that no longer have to reincarnate here on the earth plane, and they have specific jobs to mind and watch over your contracts, your soul contracts.
Are they solely our spirit guide or do they have a bunch of people that they're guides
Oh,
to?
are you solely? No, they could have two or three different individuals. What's the maximum? Five is about the maximum, but then you have, quite a few. And then oftentimes one will be very significant to your a certain period in your life, and then maybe they move on because that period of your life is over, and then uh a different guide takes over. You can have like a rotation of guides. That I have seen before.
And roughly how many guides do we have with us at a time or in our
Oh,
guide group?
how many guides are usually roughly on average in our guide group? Four on average, and how many do we have with us at any one time? Most of the time, at least two to three.
Are they with us and do they communicate with us in the spirit plane when we're making our next lifetime?
Oh, are you with us when we are making our future lifetime plans? No, they're just the overseers. They don't tell us what to do. They don't influence the contracts. They just make sure the contracts are played out, right? Do you
Oh,
report back on how we're feeling and how we're doing? A lot of times, yes, they do. And who do you report back to? They report back to the spirit world. Are there dedicated like souls that you report back to? Yes, there are.
and how can we better communicate with them while we're here on the earth plane?
How can we better communicate with you while we are here on the earth plane? Through meditation, just allowing their energy to flow in and hearing what they have to say. The problem is a lot of times people don't want to listen to what their spirit guides have to say because most of the time it's enjoy the journey. This is the journey. They're not there to really offer sympathy
No
in
spoilers?
depth, like
Right.
genuine sympathy. It's not about that. Oh, we understand the struggle. Yes, but what are you going to do about it? Well, nothing, because they're not allowed to, right? So a lot of times when you hear people saying, I'm channeling my guides, my guides, my guide. I don't actually like that term of channeling your guides because where are these guides coming from? They're not going to give you, they're not really going to give you like stock predictions and things like that.
Oh,
Because
bummer.
if it's in your contract, right, to lose money, well, yeah. Oh, what's the prediction of, what's, the Tesla stock going to do tomorrow? Well, if it's in your contract to lose money, they're going to tell you the wrong answer and then you lose money. And I've actually had people do that before. I had somebody channel their guide on whether or not they should remortgage a property and
No.
put it into Shiba Inu. And of course, what did the guide say? Yes. Well, what happened? They threw hundreds of thousands of dollars into Shiba Inu. The next week, Shiba Inu tanked. They are now underwater for the remortgage and the fact that they lost all their money in Shiba Inu. And of course, Shiba Inu has never come back up. So
Guys don't know the
that's
struggle down here.
yeah, I mean, they know the struggle, but do they fully feel the struggle? That would be a no.
And they haven't reincarnated for a long time, right? Or they've evolved past reincarnating, you're saying, in a lot of
You
instances.
Reincarnation. Yes, they don't have to reincarnate. So again, that memory or that feeling, that weighted feeling of how we feel when we are here on the earth plane, that's long over for them. And even if you think about our souls, and again, we've talked about this extensively in the CTT group. And for those of you that are not listening to the CTT videos and you like spiritual information, you should, because usually the first 10, 15 minutes, I give a lot of good spiritual information before the group starts the
Pick one at
session.
random. Yeah.
And it's free energy healing. Like you all should be tapping into this. It's also the backup channel. But so going back, our souls, even when our souls leave the earth plane, that weighted earth plane feeling of having to live here is gone. It's evaporated. And so we don't understand it even as we're just in between the lifetimes, let alone a set of guides that haven't been here on the earth plane probably for millions of years.
They don't know what's going on. Can I listen to the same CTT more than once?
You can listen to the CTTs as many times as you want.
Okay. In astral projection, when people leave their body, are they going to like a different realm, a higher dimension, or are they in the same dimension and just with a different POV, point of view?
Are you going to a different realm or a different dimension when you astrally project? You can go to a different realm or a different dimension. Can you go to a different dimension? I mean, occasionally, most of the time, you're just going to a different realm.
What percentage of our awareness is transferred roughly when we astral project?
Ooh, what percentage of our awareness is transferred roughly when we astral project? A very small percentage. It's only about 10%. That was a great question.
Are we able to see the Akashic records or talk to our guides or see our reincarnation loops with astral projection?
Can we talk to our guides with astral projection? You can if you know how to master it and you know how to will it and manifest it. And what about our past lives? Yes. A lot of times you can have people or souls meet you on when you're astrally projecting, when you're doing astral projection, and you're like, oh, I know them. Oh, yeah, how are you? It's so great to see you. And then you wake up and you're like, I have no idea who that is in this lifetime. But that most of the time, that's somebody you've known in a past life that you're very, very close to.
But we just don't know how to contact them, but we see them in the astral.
Yes. Yes, but if you can master controlling who and what information you want to achieve when you do astrally project, now that is something, you know, very enlightening. Now you can go get your past life information. Now you can go get your soul family, your ancestral information, your blockages. You can see your future. Now, do you ever, because Mr. Reality, you're a remote viewing instructor, do you ever combine the remote viewing and astral projection modalities? So, you can use remote viewing to help control astral projection.
You can, but you're always so it's a different brainwave state. When you're astral projecting, you're much closer to sleep than you are awareness and lucidity. And so there's a extended remote viewing method where you're in delta range and you're almost asleep, awake, but you really need to have somebody as a proxy nearby to guide you on that and record what you're saying because you're talking almost in your sleep. And Joe McMoneagle, one of the great remote viewers, did that hypnagogic remote viewing methodology. Is it prone for inaccuracies in the astral? Because we see things that are different from the physical reality we spend most of our time in.
Do we see? Is it inaccurate? It can be. It can be because, right, you're trying to manifest. Is it the logical mind that is? No, it's the logical mind that's trying to interpret it. But as we're trying to manifest things that make sense to us in the here and now, that can be misinterpreted or, factually inaccurate.
What is processing? Because we don't have our brain when we're out of body. So if we're astral projecting, what is doing the processing? Is that our soul or is that something else?
So we're out of our body when we are astral projecting. No, we're not out of body when we're astral projecting. It's just the consciousness is leaving the body. Outer body experience is something completely different.
Oh,
Astral projection, this is soul telling me, source telling me this. Um, Astral projection is basically just the consciousness. So how are we processing if we are going on the astral plane and say we're uncovering past lives, things that we need to work on, or maybe things we need to work on in our present lifetimes? How are we processing? Well, astral projection can be very vivid, and you're bringing that information back into the body. You're transferring that information into the body, and then the body wakes up with a memory, and then you're thinking about it, and you're slowly, working through that memory that you uncovered on the astral plane.
since Source mentioned that astral projection and out of body experiences are different consciousness journeys, can it tell us about out of body experiences? What's happening there? And if you're more lucid in those than versus astral projection?
Are you more lucid in outer body experiences versus astral projection? You can be more lucid, yes, but when you're having an outer body experience, is it a large portion of the soul? No, a portion of the soul consciousness, not the conscious mind, not the subconscious, the soul consciousness is leaving the body and going on a journey.
What percentage in OBE of our consciousness is separated from the physical body?
What percentage of the soul consciousness is separated from the physical body? About 50%. That's quite a lot.
That's a lot.
That, is that why OBE is so risky? It can be. It can be risky.
What are the
It's not a
limitations of
toy.
travel? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying it's not a toy. What are the limitations of travel? You mean when you OBE?
Yeah.
When you OBE, what are the limitations of travel? You're still bound by the physical universe. So you can't break free from the perimeters of the universe? No.
When we're developing psi or psychic powers, is psi different than telepathy?
Development of psychic powers, is that different from telepathy? Yes.
What's the difference?
What is the difference? Telepathy is actively communicating with another being or consciousness, whereas psychic ability is just reading energy.
Is psi the same thing as psychic energy then?
Is psi the same thing as psychic energy? It has a lot of similarities, yes.
All right. Well, I appreciate you diving a little bit deeply into these more esoteric realms to answer some questions and shed some light on what people might be going through out there. Does Source have any recommendations as to how people could more attune their psychic perception or their intuition perception?
You have any tidbits to leave the audience with? How they can tune their... So for those that don't have any, that don't believe they have anything, you do. You start with your gut. You start with gut instincts, going into those, reading those, and ambiance. So if you're going into a place and you're feeling the ambiance, reading the energy, even if it's not future or unseen, right? Because that's what I do. It's like I tap into the unknown or the unseen, right? But even if you're in a restaurant or somewhere which is seen and you are there, even just fine tuning how you feel, what does the energy feel like? What does the energy feel like from different individuals in the room? That's certainly a start.
All right. Yeah, I teach that too in my tap room viewing course. It's the situational awareness of a room, and I never sit with my back to a door just because you want to make sure you're always aware of what's happening around you, and you can feel that energy of the places that you go when you really feel it with your gut. So I appreciate this deep dive, and each and every one of you out there, we appreciate you. Feel free to leave your comments below and let us know how you're doing. Thanks,
Yeah,
Liz.
don't forget Mr. Reality. You put this together all by yourself. So that was great. And the questions were magnificent. I know that you spent a lot of time formulating those questions and writing them down and putting it together. So you do have a tip jar listed down below, and we appreciate all that you do for us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.